Blog Talk Radio.
For the next couple of hours, join us as we explore the imagination, the intuition, the inner realm, the inner world, winding our way into our discovery of the fifth dimension. What it is, what it means, how it looks, how it feels. Discovering new, broader perspectives of life as humans on the earthly plane. A journey within, a journey into a new, yet ancient frontier. A journey into the heart. The journey of our lifetimes. So please allow reason to coexist with your intuition, with inspiration, with your imagination. And join me in the discovery of more and more of ourselves. I promise you a journey unlike any other. Let us together explore the mystical, the amazing, the magnificent world of heart-based living in the fifth dimension. Welcome to the Consciousness Evolution Hour with your host, Philip Mollica. A fond and lovely Thursday evening to all of you. This is Philip Mollica, and you are listening to the Consciousness Evolution Hour, proudly presented as part of Rob Gauthier's ENlightenment Evolution Network. Welcome. I know we have a bunch of people coming in from Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group tonight, so a big shout out and gracious thanks to all of you for being here and joining us, my partner Debbie and I, as we broadcast tonight. And the name of this episode is, and we jump around an awful lot, so it's going to be this and that, but the name of the episode tonight is Relationships, the Mirror to the Mirror. This was based on some reading that we had done with Elias. We're actually going to go to that reading in a little bit here, and we're going to cover some of that with you tonight. But based on that, it was really quite a discovery that how we interrelate with each other. And it's especially interesting right now, at least for myself and Debbie as well, that because of course, everything that we're dealing with right now is very acutely based on our relationships with those around us, with our loved ones, and I know that in talking to people in our meetup group, and of course in my overview of the postings in the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group on Facebook, that perhaps the biggest thing in our life, and maybe it's the whole thing in our lives, is our relationships. Our relationship with not only with others, but with ourselves primarily, and with everything that's in our physical reality. Our whole experience is based around these relationships. And the quality or lack thereof of those relationships can be very affecting, and in fact is probably the most affecting factor in our day-to-day lives. As we move through our day, it's much of what we feel and much of the emotion that we experience is based on our relationships, in particular with other people, although it goes far beyond that. It really is our relationship to our environment, and to everything that we're in contact with in any given day. But the relationships seem to be, because they are in that sense bilateral, or maybe there's a better word for that, mutual shared creations, that they are most affecting of our emotional state and what we think and what we're doing. And so this information from Elias came at a very good time. There is a great deal that we're looking at right now in our personal lives. But before we get to all that, I'm just going to do a couple of things just to tell you where to find us if you're tuning in for the first time, or if you are new to the show tonight, if you're coming in from Blog Talk. Again, this is the Consciousness Evolution Hour. I'm Philip Mollica here with my partner Debbie. We are broadcasting from Clarkston, Michigan. We simulcast, in a sense, on the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group on Facebook. We don't actually simulcast there, but we do have a thread that runs. They have what is called, we affectionately refer to as Date Night on Consciousness Evolution, and a number of our dear friends and fellow creators are there currently, and they will be talking to each other and anyone else that wishes to jump on that thread there for the show on Facebook in the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 group. So if you're on Facebook, go over and look for us, and we will just put in a request to join. It is a private group, private in the sense that the posts are not public. Only visible to members of the group. So that's just to offer our members a certain ability to express themselves without concern for other people and their purview who are not, perhaps they don't want to share the same material with. And it offers also all of us a chance to discuss things among ourselves with very dear friends, wonderful, wonderful people there who share their hearts and their stories and their ideas, and I am very grateful for everyone's participation in that group. But if you put in a request to join the group, we'll get you shown right to your seat, and you can find the thread. It should be bumped up near the top of the group, and you can follow that and see the comments that are offered by the various members in the group as the show progresses. So look for us on Facebook. Also, you can find me on YouTube at my YouTube page. Look up Philip Mollica, 1 L in Philip, 2 L's in Mollica, Mollica. And we have a number of, we've recently posted up some of the recent shows if you want to get caught up. We've had some really wonderful shows. They all have been, and I am very close this year, in this episode, to celebrating my 1-year anniversary on the air. And I can tell you that I am most grateful to Rob Gauthier and the rest of the hosts and the contributors and the viewers and listeners of the Enlightenment Evolution Network, Blog Talk Radio Network, for being a part of, and Rob in particular for allowing me to share my thoughts and my feelings and my ideas within the show, and we hope to provide a template for you, or a forum in which you can discover more about yourself, because that really is the most important thing, and is your relationship with yourself, and that will guide how everything else looks to you. And before you can have before you can have any type of relationship with anybody else, you really need to focus on the relationship with yourself. And knowing yourself and being aware in each moment is extremely important to how you will interrelate to the rest of your environment, your physical environment. So that being said, and we also have a local live meetup group. And when I say live, I mean we physically take our bodies and go there. So it is live in that sense. It is. You can find us on meetup.com. Meetup.com is a wonderful kind of a means for people to start local groups that meet physically or not. I suppose some of them are cyber groups, but by and large, they're for people to meet people with common interests, to meet each other. And on meetup.com, we are the Consciousness Evolution Meetup Group. And you can find us there. We meet in Southeast Michigan on the first and third Tuesdays of the month. On occasion, when there's a fifth Tuesday in the month, we will have a meeting on that, which we are doing this month. On the 31st, we will be having a special off meeting on that day, just because we so enjoy it and love it, and I do mean that most sincerely. It really is wonderful to get together with a group of people under the auspices, thank you very much, of getting together and discussing this material about the shift, about our evolving consciousness. It really, it's really about more than evolving. It's a new awareness of what we've always been. New awareness of abilities that we've always held, of parts of ourselves, I guess, of aspects of ourselves that have always been there, but that we are in this shift becoming aware of. And some of those are being able to work not only in the present moment, but also to be able to work in past and future. And we're going to go to Seth later on and talk a bit more about probabilities. Debbie and I have been working through the Unknown Reality, Seth book, Volume 1. And that information has been very pertinent to us and is very relative to the shift that's going on. It's sort of the nuts and bolts of what we are actually doing now, and gives us a very strong basis for understanding what is happening now. And of course, the Seth books were written 40 years ago, but so relevant to this present moment, and Seth really is talking about this shift, the shift in consciousness that we are currently enjoying, more or less, and working our way through. So we're going to go to Seth later. But again, the meetup group, meetup.com, Consciousness Evolution Meetup Group, and we've got over 450 members there today. And we get anywhere from 15 to 30 people at each meetup. We meet at the LA Cafe in Clarkston, Michigan, which is in southeast Michigan, between Detroit and Flint. Very proud to be in Michigan, and I'm a Detroit boy. I'm not afraid to claim that. And again, very pleased to be here tonight. So look us up, YouTube, Facebook, and meetup.com. Those are the primary places where you will find us. And let's move into some material at this point. I don't have announcements for this week for the rest of the network, so we will forego those, and we're going to move right into some Elias material and some discussion around relationships. And I think before we get to the Elias material, I'll fill you in a little bit on some of the experiences we've been having here lately. And it's been most challenging, and I can tell you that today I have felt very off, and I'm thinking that it's probably related to the planetary alignments and the shifting and eclipse that's going on, and I recognize from some of the other people who are familiar with that information that this is a very big movement of energy that is happening tomorrow, and there is new energy coming in for us, and it is going to be quite affecting of us. And I can tell you that today I felt very affected, was just physically felt very jittery, and it's as if my nerves were all pulsating very quickly, as if everything was vibrating very quickly in my body. And I didn't feel particularly well, but I didn't feel particularly bad either, just really sort of off, and not necessarily in a bad way, but very affected by it. And so I am interested to know how other folks are feeling in this as well. And by the way, if you would like to call in and talk about something, we would be happy to field your call. You can call in directly to the show at area code 347-308-8788. Make sure when you dial in that you hit the number 1 at the prompt to raise your hand. That's how we know you have a question, and we would be happy to talk to you. But we've had some very interesting realizations this week. I certainly have had my own around some of the circumstances of my own life where I would say that I've been waiting more or less to see how things played out in some areas of my life. And, I was making efforts in the direction of what I felt was my preference regarding these subjects. I was taking physical action and making efforts and talking to people and doing whatever I felt would bring about my quote-unquote preferred outcome. Now, what I have found is that for all of my efforts, nothing has seemed to be moving in the direction that I am saying is my preferred outcome. And we talked about this a number of times, but one of our pet terms here is to let it be obvious. And as we are moving through our lives, it's very important to be aware of what is coming your way, both in terms of your outer created reality and in the form of people and circumstances within your reality. To be very aware in each moment and to sense the workings, the framework, the background workings of what is being built up for you as your life or your experience. It's very important, and I found myself in many ways in the past and future on some of these subjects. And I kind of woke up one day and went, oh wow, I've been in the past or in the future on some of these ideas that are coming up, some of these life challenges, I guess, or just life experiences for which I have set a preference, set what I believe is my preferred outcome. But I kind of woke up one morning and said, oh wow, I've been projecting out into the future and into the past regarding some things, and not really allowing myself to be in the present moment around these. And because I am quite used to and accustomed to now of being in the present moment and being very aware of myself in the current moment, that it was a welcome reminder to me to reassert myself back into my present and not get too far out on any of these subjects, because there really isn't anything that can be done about them in that sense. You can follow inspiration and you can offer physical action for things that you know are coming but are not present currently. But you have to be aware of what is showing up for you. And if you're banging your head against the wall with something, in other words, if you're trying, and you keep getting the same result, it's not because you're not trying hard enough. It's not necessarily because you're not doing the right thing. It may just be that the framework is such that perhaps a different outcome or probability is better serving to you than what you might think is or suppose would be from your ego standpoint. Now, we all operate more or less from our ego perspective. It is our vehicle in physical life. And it serves us very well. The ego is very good at collecting data, of putting things together, of bringing us information about our current experience, about focusing us, thank you very much, into our physical reality. It is the ego's job in that sense. But what the ego is lacking, more or less, is the ability to see over the next hill. And the ego, because it is endowed with what we call memory, endowed with the ability to recall probable pasts of ours that we have labeled as our official history, it is able to maintain memory for us and associations that hopefully will serve us in our present moment. Now, they don't always, because we don't always use them that way. We don't always use our past in the way that it was really ideally meant to be used. We, out of all probable pasts, have chosen one official line of reality, history for ourselves, and we call that us. We say that's who we are in this present moment. We are this collection of moments, of probable selves, of us's through our history from the time we were born up until this present moment. We've had this moment after moment after moment that we recognize as our official history. Now, that doesn't mean that we spin out probable selves like a merry-go-round spins kids off it. You know, if it's going too fast, we spin probable selves off all the time. But and all of those probable selves and all of those probable realities continue. They don't stop just because we choose one particular official history in that sense, or official moment. In any given moment, you are choosing in each single moment, you are choosing what your official life is out of all probable choices in that moment. But all of those other probable choices that you don't choose also continue on and have their own life in that sense. And they are very close to you in that you can gather information from them and connect with those other probable selves, which are you, which is one of the things that we are becoming aware of being able to do now. It has always been a capability of ours, but we are really, as part of the shift, learning how to do that in a much better way. And that has a great deal to offer us, because many probable selves can form together to form a personality, which we consider us. Isn't that interesting? That many, many probable selves can form together to form a personality, which becomes who we feel that we are at any given moment. How that happens? Well, we're going to keep reading Our Unknown Reality, and we're going to get more and more on that from Seth. But it is very interesting to note that the more that I know about consciousness and the more I know about myself and personal reality and the framework of everything, the more I don't know, and the more astounded I am at the intricacy of that framework that we really are quite unaware of as we go through our moment-to-moment lives. So, that being said, I'm just trying to find the next place to go here. We were talking about the past. We're also talking about probable futures. Yes, thank you. So I was focusing my attention into probable futures, and based on my experiences on the physical actions that I was taking and the responses that I was getting from them, I more or less came to the conclusion that my so-called preferred outcome was not necessarily how it was going to look. Yes, very interesting. And what was amazing, though, is that once I came to that conclusion, once it became apparent that it wasn't looking quite the way I was hoping it was going to look, that I needed to adjust myself within the present moment to allow for whatever it did look like. And it caused me really to pull back in, to really pull myself back into the present moment, and to say to myself that whatever does happen is going to be perfectly okay. However it does end up looking is going to be okay. And even if my preferred outcome did not take place, that I was still going to be okay. And even, perhaps, there was something so much better in store for me. And isn't this what Bashar has told us all along, is that the physical mind, the best that we can imagine with our physical mind, is the least that can be provided to us by the higher mind. And that idea came to me very clearly as I was viewing these circumstances, that perhaps what is in the works for me, unbeknownst to me, is really exactly what I've been asking for. And how many times do we say that to ourselves? You know, the thing that we fear the most is the thing that when it does happen is the best thing that could have possibly happened. Because, folks, we're not walking through with blinders, and we are not walking through unsupported. We are asking for things in our lives. We are asking. And the universe, the multiverse, God, you, as creator, your higher self, is always juggling the balls and has got great things in the works for you. And when we try to control things too much from the ego standpoint, we sometimes get sideways to ourselves because the ego doesn't have that broad vision. It can't see over the next hill. It doesn't know what's coming. And really, that's been a great deal of my discomfort this week, is the uncertainty of how things are going to look should my preferred outcome regarding some of these circumstances not take place. A great deal of uncertainty. And uncertainty is not pleasant. It can be very discomforting. It can be a very uncomfortable sensation. And I know that everyone, as we move through our lives and the various challenges and our relationships with others, face a great deal of uncertainty. Now, that is starting to change, and we are starting to understand a great deal more about ourselves and about our framework, the framework in which we operate. And what a lot of new people to this information miss, they will get the idea that there is balance throughout the universe. That's easy to understand, that there is balance, that no matter what happens anywhere, it is balanced across the multiverse. What the second part to that, though, is that balance always takes place in a way that is most beneficial to all consciousness. So not only do you have your higher self and your guides looking out for you, but they're working in concert with all of consciousness everywhere for the betterment of everything. So it isn't like it's the perfect yin-yang 50-50 balance. It is tipped in our favor. Why? Because creation loves us. Because Source, the source of consciousness, all that is, God, has an unimaginable love for all things. I remember when I was coming up in Catholic school, and the idea was that God has within His vision, this of course was very objectified, but that God has within His vision all things all at the same time. Now, but that actually is true in that sense. Because all that is aware of all of its progeny at all times. And through the framework of creation is always leaned in our favor. Not just our favor, but everything's favor. It's like having a machine that always pays off at the casino. It's always set to pay off. The odds are tipped. They're over 100%. There's a bigger payoff than what you're putting in. And this is a part that is very important to an understanding of creation. And that really, you can call that love. Because there is no love that's bigger than that, and we, in our typical discussions around love, really don't have a good grasp on what that is, because we can't imagine that kind of love. We can't imagine anything that big. But we can sure try. And God, or all that is, or Source, is always working in our favor. So as I'm looking at these circumstances of mine, I'm saying, okay, then if this isn't going to work out the way I think that I prefer it to, then there's got to be something more to it. And I trust that whatever it is that's more to it is way in my favor. because my preference around the circumstance is pretty good. I mean, from my standpoint, it looks pretty good. But if that's not to be and it's going to look like something else, then I have to believe that it's going to be even so much better without knowing what it is, with the uncertainty of not knowing what it is, not knowing what's coming, not knowing how it's going to work or look or come about. But this is the blessed nature of all that is. And sometimes I fear that I have a twinge about talking about God, but God in that sense is us. And I just want to make very clear that there is no separation between us and God. I'm not objectifying it and putting it as something outside of me. I know that I'm as much a part of it, and it is as much a part of me. It is as intimate a relationship as there can be. So I am never victimized in that sense. I am never affected in a way that I am not intimately connected to that affectation. And that's the part that we have to remember. That however it affects us, we are intimately involved in the creation of our experience. In fact, we create all of it. And can be a very bitter pill to swallow if what you're looking at is a bunch of shit around you. Or what appears to be. And sometimes when you're uncertain, sometimes when you can't see the bigger picture, can be a bit nerve-wracking. And we're going to lead this right into the idea around relationships. And again, I'll share some personal experience. We're both having some very interesting, I don't even know what to call it, interesting information coming to us around some of our dearest relationships. Those being those closest to us. We love everyone, but truly our as we would say, our loved ones. And I know many, many people here have less than satisfactory experiences in their personal relationships with their loved ones. And that's especially apparent now as we're moving into the shift, because there seems to be a chasm of sorts between, I don't want to say those who get it and those who don't, but those who are aware of the fact that we are shifting. All of us are shifting, not just some of us. All of us are shifting. Whether we know we're shifting or not, we are all shifting. Just make that clear. If you're here, you're part of the shift. This is what's happening now here. And if you are here, you are involved. But there are people who have greater and lesser awarenesses of the idea of the shift that's occurring. And there are people that really want no part of it, or let's say they want no conscious awareness of it. They really want to continue in their, and I'm not saying this in a better than way or in a we know something they don't, but in the illusion of their not knowing what we are all going through. So there seems to be a chasm there, and again, particularly with our family members, and again, I know by talking to people in our live meetup group and by the posts that come through on Consciousness Evolution, that probably the greatest trauma that we may suffer in that sense as part of the shift is going to be around our relationships, and particularly those relationships with our loved ones. I think this might be a good time to go into this passage from Elias. This is about a number of different things, but one of the things that it includes is how we actually are a mirror to a mirror in our relationship or in our interactions with others. Because we are constantly reflecting back and forth information about ourselves and about the other person back to themselves, which is then either accepted or reconfigured as it comes in. And this happens in our terms millions of times a second. It happens so fast we are scarcely aware of the fact that it's happening. But adjustments are made in milliseconds that we can't even see. And any relationship, any type of interaction with somebody is this incredible lightning speed, faster than lightning speed, interaction of energy that is passed between those two individuals. And that energy is being disseminated and reflected and reconfigured. It happens so fast, it just boggles the mind, the amount of information and energy that is passed between people having an interaction. But the more we can understand our own energy within those interactions, the more we can be aware of the energy that we are projecting and reflecting to another individual, the more we can, and I'm not going to use the term take control of, but we can form an interaction in a way that is most beneficial. And we can do that without anyone being none the wiser. Give me a moment. The more that we are aware of our energy within interactions, and aware of our own energy within interactions, and aware what we are projecting to others within our interactions, and aware what we are reflecting to others, because oftentimes we can feel energy coming in from another person in an interaction. And we can know that that energy may not only contain the energy of what that person thinks they're projecting to us, but it can also contain energy that they didn't intend, because let's just say that they are carrying a little a dirty filter. Their filter's not so clean, so there's a lot of shit getting through as they are projecting their energy to us in an interaction. Now, in our best case, we can recognize the differences in the energy that we are receiving. And we can allow the intended, receive the intended energy that we know that we can glean that the person was trying to project to us. And we can reconfigure the other energy and kind of filter out the stuff that we know wasn't intended. Now, that was a lot of words to say, and we do this all the time, but it's basically allowing for someone's personality. If you know someone is a certain way, let's just say it that way, you can still have an extraordinary relationship and interaction with that person, even though parts of the energy that they are projecting to you are dirty in that sense, are not being filtered, or are being filtered in a way that perhaps the other person isn't aware that they're projecting that energy to you. And I love the idea, the moment we discovered this, or we were talking about this, it was the idea to me that it's a mirror to a mirror, because the idea of a mirror to a mirror, if you hold two mirrors together, they infinitely reflect each other. And you can poke your head in there and see that it goes on infinitely. This is what happens in every moment with us in an interaction with another individual. It is a mirror to a mirror effect. And what I love about the mirror to the mirror analogy is because you can see in that moment literally infinite reflections back and forth from one mirror to the other. And that is such a great analogy for what happens when we are interacting with each other. We are infinitely reflecting in that moment and creating that interaction within that moment based on the energy that we're reflecting back and forth to each other infinitely within that moment. Time is just illusory. And in particular in those interactions, you can step out of time and have a whole conversation with somebody and never realize that you did. This is this energy that's moving between people in an interaction. But you can literally step out of time and then come back in both of you. So this is this idea of infinite creation within the moment between two people, the mirror to the mirror effect. And I just found that astounding. What a great design for us to be able to do that. What a great framework for us within physical reality to have interactions. But getting back to our our actual experience around our relationships this week, we're very uncertain. And it's interesting because I was actually saying yesterday that it's almost as if I died. In some of these relationships. And I don't quite have an understanding around it, but it's as if a portion of me that had a different kind of relationship with these individuals, these loved ones, died. And there is a choice within that. There's a choice within the folks that I'm interacting with to have that kind of experience of me now. And I don't quite understand why or what to do with it. And I don't really have an answer for this, except to continue doing me and expressing my love toward these individuals and my acceptance of them without expectation. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to be a doormat, but it also doesn't mean that I'm not going to care, because I do. And I would really like to have a different experience of these loved ones than I am currently. But I really have nothing else that I can do than to just keep doing me. Because if I try and come down to their level, there are reasons why it looks the way it does, and I may not be privy to those reasons. There are reasons why, even from the multiverse standpoint, even from the creation standpoint, why it looks like it does, and I may not be privy to that. But if there's one thing that I can do, it's to continue to be me, and to be aware of myself in each moment, and to send love to these individuals that I care for deeply, and know that at some level, if not at this level, but at some level, that they feel that and are aware of it and know it. Because if I try and force my hand, and we've seen this in some attempts to do so, that you can be met very unpleasantly. And that doesn't seem to serve anybody. And again, I know that most of the people that we talk to, the greatest trauma that they're having in this shift is within their personal relationships with each other, with loved ones, with those who are perhaps not consciously aware of their involvement in this shift. But I do believe that, and I trust, that everything is leaning in our favor, that everything is meant to work out, that all beings are going to have the experiences that they came here to have. And if I am playing a role for somebody and they're having that experience, then I will do so. And it's interesting because you can be placed into roles, playing roles that you really have absolutely nothing to do with you. Absolutely nothing to do with you. If you look around your personal relationships, you will see that a lot. It can be confusing. It can be very confusing to know that somebody has an expectation of you that is, from your perspective, not you. That someone will use you in that sense in order for them to have an experience that is completely unrelated to you, to have an emotional experience. Nothing to do with you. See it all the time. All the time. But you, lucky you, who is aware of this information, who are listening tonight to this show, I'm going to tell you a little trick. We mentioned it previously, and we're going to let Elias talk about it a little more. But you can reconfigure the incoming energy to you. And you can have it less affecting of you. And you are not detracting from yourself or from the other individual having this experience of you. You are actually doing you both a great, a solid in that sense, by reconfiguring incoming energy. I'm not going to get into the hows. I'm going to let Elias do some of that. and talk about it in more detail. And Elias is also talking about intrusiveness in this particular part of this session that I'm going to read to you. The session is, it actually is pinned right now. The transcript is pinned at the top of the Consciousness Evolution 2.0 Facebook group. But Elias is talking about expressions of essence and expressing responsibility for yourself. Now, there are some parts of this where Elias is talking about where some people were taking Elias's words and they were using them to be intrusive with others around them. And so there is a bit of admonishment in this from Elias, but there's also a great deal of information in how we interact with each other. And that's really my purpose in sharing that with you tonight. So this is session, is 1450, isn't it? 1452? Thank you very much. If you are counting, you can find that at eliasweb.org, ELIAS web, WEB.org. And it is session 1452. And again, my thanks to Mary Ennis, who channels Elias, and to the participants, and everyone who shares this information, transcribes, and brings this information forth. So let's talk to Elias for a moment. Now, let me express to you all what we are discussing this day is responsibility. That is an expression of essence, expressing responsibility for yourself. We shall be discussing in the context of physical focus, for this is your reality and this is what you participate within. It is pointless to be discussing what you term to be cosmic expressions, for this is not your focus. Your attention is focused within this physical reality. This is what you move in. This is what you generate. This is what you experience. You are not experiencing non-physical focus in this particular manifestation. You have chosen to be in this manifestation within this reality, and therefore this shall be our focus of discussion, what is real within your reality. Within essence, within consciousness, there is no intrusiveness. It is not that it is not possible, for there are no absolutes. Therefore, it is possible to be intrusive in non-physical areas of consciousness. It is not an action that is expressed. But in physical realities, it is expressed. It is not a natural expression of essence. It's very good. It is not. Intrusiveness is not a natural expression of essence. Debbie just said we use that as a barometer. I'm going to get you on the line here one of these days. Yeah, I see that. It is not a natural expression of consciousness, but that is not to say that it may not occur. The reason that we shall engage this subject this day is that I am aware of a tremendous polarization which has been occurring recently within your physical reality, and this polarization is generating many different types of energies and is generating a contribution to the trauma associated with this shift, and this is not the point. I'm going to jump out here for a moment and say that many of us are aware of great polarization within this shift, a great fragmenting as people try and find their footing within the shift. And there is a great deal of agreement and discussion, but as we're exploring, there's also a great deal of misunderstanding. And there is a great deal of intrusiveness as well as people try to force their opinions on others, or say that one way is the only way, or is the best way. And really, there are as many best ways as there are units of consciousness, because each one is going to do it their own way, and that is their best way. All right, let's go back to Elias. Individuals are incorporating this information that I offer to you in manners in which they are offering themselves permission to be intrusive, which they are also condoning within themselves and justifying within themselves as acceptable and in alignment with this shift in consciousness. And I may express to you now that this is not correct. No essence that is participating within this shift in consciousness in non-physical form is offering any energy contrary to this shift in consciousness. No essence that is non-physical is contributing or participating in any expression that justifies more conflict or trauma. This is huge. Folks, I'm going to jump out here and just say, if you're reading or watching or listening to somebody who says they're non-physical, they're channeling, and they are bringing trauma to, in whatever form, to whatever group, this is not in alignment with the intentions of Source. If they're coming in talking about conspiracies and difficulties, and you know when you hear it. You know when you hear a loving, considered message. And you know when you're hearing something that's trying to stir up, to make you feel lack, to make you feel fear, to make you feel as if you have to do something in order for you to be okay within this shift. I'm here to tell you that's wrong, and it will not be will not be a genuine expression of non-physical. I assure you it is going through a filter. All right, let's go back to Elias. The point of any essence participating in an energy exchange to be offering information is to be responding to all of you that have requested information expressly to lessen the trauma that is associated with the shift in consciousness. Therefore, I express to you now, as Elias, that I do not condone or justify any action that is intrusive within your movements. I am aware that many individuals that are expressing this type of action are not actually physically present within this group now this day. But it matters not, for I am also aware that this particular transcription of this discussion that we engage this day shall be offered to the entirety of the individuals that participate within this forum, and those individuals that are expressing this intrusiveness shall know and shall be aware of who they are. But it is significant that all of you understand also what constitutes intrusiveness, and that you be aware of your participation in this shift in consciousness. Collectively, you move in very similar directions. You seek information. You seek to be more aware of yourselves, to intentionally direct your movement in directions that you want and that you choose. You seek to be generating an awareness of yourselves and each other that enhances your exploration within this physical direction. You also wish to incorporate information that shall be helpful to you and allow you to create what you want and to accomplish what you want within your own individual focuses and in your participation in this shift in consciousness. That is an action of becoming more familiar with yourselves and with your energy expressions. To this point, you have incorporated, all of you, widening your awarenesses to an extent in which you understand beliefs. You understand what mechanisms you incorporate as communication mechanisms to yourself. You understand belief systems. You are beginning to recognize your individual truths. Although there continues to be some confusion concerning truths in accordance with this present wave that is occurring in consciousness addressing to truths, which are not what you term to be cosmic truths. They are your truths that you have generated in creating an absolute in association with any belief. You are beginning to understand that this shift is not eliminating beliefs and that beliefs are not your enemy. But there is much that you have not objectively incorporated in awareness yet concerning how your energies and how you express them and how you project them and what you project and how that is received. This is the point of responsibility. None of you are responsible for other individuals. I have expressed from the onset of these interactions that you are not responsible for any other individual and their choices and what they create, and other individuals are not responsible for you either. You are responsible for what you create. You are responsible to yourself for what you create, and you are responsible for what you project within consciousness, and that is expressed within your physical focus. I am not expressing to you an identification of what energy you express to the cosmos, so to speak, but what energy you express with each other and your interactions. And you may be aware of your energy. I have been interactive with many individuals for a time framework, offering information concerning the energy that you express outwardly, and configurations of energy, how you project energy, how it is received, how you receive it, how other individuals receive your energy, how you configure energy, how you reconfigure energy. I have also expressed many times, generally speaking for the most part, and this is significant, you do not automatically reconfigure energy. It is not that you cannot, but generally speaking, you do not. I'm going to jump out here. This is really important. This isn't how we were built in this focus, to automatically reconfigure energy. And what Elias is saying here is, when we receive energy, we generally take it the way it comes to us. If it's dirty and hot and angry or whatever it is, we're generally not reconfiguring it. And this is why it's important for us to be aware of the energy we are projecting to other individuals. All right, let's jump back into Elias. Therefore, if energy is being projected to you, you shall generally configure it in almost the identical manner in which it is being projected. Thank you, Elias. If you are projecting energy to another individual in interaction, the other individual shall receive your energy and configure it in almost the identical manner in which you have projected it. There are time frameworks in which individuals do automatically reconfigure another individual's energy. That would be associated with an action that the individual is engaging in relation to their own beliefs and issues that may be being expressed in their reality in that time framework, which may influence them to reconfigure energy in association with what they are engaging themselves. Therefore, what is expressed may not necessarily appear the same as what is being received. I shall explain. Thank you very much. Another significant element to be recognized in association with projecting and receiving energy is that your natural state that you express and experience within your physical manifestation is to be open to the projections of other individuals. All of you are naturally open to the expressions of other individuals. This is what generates the availability for an individual to be intrusive. I'm jumping out here. What Elias is saying is that we all naturally are open to the expressions of others. And we don't reconfigure their energy. We take it exactly the way it comes. So if someone comes in like a bull in a china shop, more generally speaking, that's how they're going to be perceived. If somebody is pushing their energy out onto other people, it's going to be felt very succinctly by those involved in that interaction. Okay, let's jump back in. To block an intrusive expression, the individual receiving must not be open to that reception, and the manner in which it would not be open would be to incorporate an awareness prior to the reception of what type of energy is being projected and whether you choose to receive it or not. This is the point, for most of you are not aware yet of your own energies and of what types of energies may be triggering of your beliefs that would influence you to generate hurtfulness within yourselves. Now, I'm going to jump out for a second. I want to point out here, in an interaction, you're talking to somebody. Let's make it real plain. And that person says something to you that hurts you. Now, that hurt that you're experiencing is due to a belief that you have around the subject that was expressed to you. Now, you choose the belief that is associated with that idea that is causing you to feel hurt. Nobody is forcing you to believe something. Nobody is forcing you to feel bad. We are not victims in that sense. However, as we become more and more aware of the energy that we're projecting to each other, I would express to you that you take great care and feel the energy within yourself that you are projecting to that other individual. It's as simple as just being nice, gracious, kind, loving, compassionate, allowing, patient. This is nothing we don't all know. It's not something that we're not familiar with. But having the mechanism pointed out to us is most helpful and most appreciative for Elias's discussion around this. Nobody can be intrusive to you unless you allow them to be. But what Elias is telling us here is that it is our natural state to be allowing. It is our natural state to accept incoming energy the way it was generated. Now, let's put this in plain terms. You can be having a conversation with somebody and they can be expressing anger to you, and you could say, you know what, I really don't give a shit what you think. Or I don't care about that. Or I'm not going to engage you anymore. That's easy. Sometimes it's not easy. Depends on who you're talking to. But as we're moving into greater awareness, we are incorporating the ability to be able to reconfigure the energy that's incoming and reflect it back to them. And you can see that within yourself and your interactions. And we've been doing this now for some time and getting better at it. In other words, we used to talk about pre-paving appointments. If you were let's say that you know you're meeting with somebody and you know that this particular person has a proclivity to be a jerk. Let's just call it that way. I used to have great success in business by pre-paving those, by thinking around this person the day before my meeting with them. And seeing the interaction in the best possible terms that I could come up with and sending love to this individual. And I would have great success in that. And I would get there and it was as if this person and I had met for drinks the night before and worked out anything that was not congruent between us, or that I was engaging a completely different individual than the one that I am aware of in that sense. And we can see ourselves doing this all the time. And I know that many of us who are engaged in this, who are dealing with relationships with our family members, or loved ones, or people we care about, or friends, that we can actually take an energy that is, let's call it, I don't want to use dirty, it's not the right word, but let's call it a jagged energy, a rough energy, dense, hard, thick, but jagged. It's definitely, not abrasive, yes. And we know that we can really call out the highest version of this person that we're having an interaction with just through our thoughts, through our reflection of them to themselves, through our generating of our own energy, and we can actually create a completely different interaction than we thought possible. We may have thought possible. But this is all based on our beliefs. Okay, anyway, let's jump back in and let Elias continue on this. I have expressed many times, another individual does not project energy and cause, so to speak, hurtfulness within you. Yes. They may intend that action, but they do not create your reality. Therefore, if you experience hurtfulness, you have created that, but in conjunction with what you have received. Were you to incorporate an awareness clearly enough of your own energy and your own triggers, you would incorporate the objective intentional ability to reconfigure that energy that is being projected to you, that incorporates the potential to trigger your incorporation of hurtfulness, and therefore, prior to your reception of it, it would be reconfigured and you would not experience the hurtfulness. Give us a moment, please. I'm going to repeat that last short paragraph. Were you to incorporate an awareness clearly enough of your own energy and your own triggers, you would incorporate the objective, intentional ability to reconfigure that energy that is being projected to you that incorporates the potential to trigger your incorporation of hurtfulness. And therefore, prior to your reception of it, it would be reconfigured and you would not experience the hurtfulness. But at this point, in this now, you do not incorporate that wide of an awareness. You do not incorporate that clarity and that familiarity with your own energies and with your own preferences and with how you can reconfigure energy to not incorporate hurtfulness. Therefore, it is significant to recognize what you can incorporate within your awareness now and what you can be aware of now and what you can incorporate in projections of energy yourselves as an expression of essence in incorporating responsibility for yourselves, and how you generate that is to be aware of what energy you are expressing. It was a whole lot of words from Elias to say, know what you're saying, know what kind of energy you're projecting to other people. Feel around, there are clues. You'll feel the ting within you. You'll feel the ping as the energy's going out, that maybe there's something more going out than what you really wanted. You may be incorporating an interaction with another individual, and your intention may not be to be expressing hurtfulness. But as you engage the interaction, you may be aware that the other individual is receiving your energy and is generating an expression of hurtfulness. You are all aware enough to know what energy is being configured by the other individual that you were interacting with. As you project it, if they are receiving it differently from what you perceive your projection is, you shall know. You shall be aware and you shall feel a twinge. You may be confused, for you may be examining your motivation, and you may be examining in that moment what you have expressed and your intention, and you may be recognizing that your intention and your motivation was not to be expressing hurtfulness, but you are also aware that this is the manner in which it has been received. In that moment, you provide yourself with an opportunity to reconfigure your energy and project again to be in alignment with your intention. I'm going to repeat that. If you are in an interaction with somebody and you are projecting energy and you understand or you see that you somehow are generating hurtfulness in the other individual, you can jump back, and this all happens in split seconds. You can jump back in and examine what you have expressed and your intention. And even if you recognize that your intention and motivation was not to express hurt, but you also know that it was received as hurt, you provide yourself with an opportunity to reconfigure that energy. In other words, go back to the drawing board and project again to be in alignment with your intention. We'll continue. For regardless of whether your intention is not to be incorporating hurtfulness to another individual, that energy may move anyway, for you may be incorporating other energies in any expression. In any interaction, there is not merely one energy that is being expressed, for you incorporate many energies. And you may be incorporating another energy which does not concern the individual that you are interacting with. Let's put that in plain terms. You might be pissed off at your boss and kick your dog. You're not mad at the dog, but you're still projecting that energy to them. Be aware that you are projecting many energies. Back to Elias, it may be associated with another experience. It may be associated with a belief within yourself. It may be associated with some other action that you are engaging not in that present now, but that you are associating with regardless. You all incorporate these types of actions quite frequently. Regardless of what interaction you are engaging, generally speaking, your attention is not so streamlined and focused that there is no other expression occurring and that your attention is not wandering, so to speak, to other areas of your experience and other time frameworks, which we discuss quite frequently, the difficulty in holding your attention within the now. In other words, as much as we try and do successfully be fully present and fully aware in the moment, we still could be wandering in beliefs, we could be wandering in other experiences, we could be thinking about something else that happened while we're expressing to an individual that has nothing to do with them. Back to Elias. Therefore, regardless of your intention, you may be expressing an interaction with another individual in an amiable manner in your perception, but energy is received and it is recognized much more clearly than any other type of communication. As the other individual receives it, they may be configuring it in the manner in which it is projected, but you are unaware of that other energy that has been projected in the interaction. In other words, you may think you're projecting cleanly, but your energy, as it's being received, is containing energies that you may not be aware of. Therefore, you are confused why the individual is now perceiving that you have been expressing a hurtfulness to them. Oh, this is very good. A great analogy coming up here from Elias. I offered an example to an individual yesterday. Give us a moment. I offered an example to an individual yesterday of a visualization to emphasize this concept and this expression of energy. I expressed to the individual to imagine themselves to be a pool. And within this pool, which is you, there are many, many, many fish, and all of these fish are swimming. Some of these fish are swimming together, and other fish are swimming in other directions. But they are all moving, and they are all your energies, not merely one, many, many, many energies. Now, in one area of the pool, there are energies swimming, and they are agitated. They are incorporating experiences that are irritating and challenging. In another area of the pool, the fish are swimming in a calm manner. Now, the pool meets another pool and is interacting with the other pool. The attention is directed and focused in the interaction with the other pool. But the other pool incorporates many fish that are swimming also. Now, as the first pool begins the interaction with the second pool, it is expressing in what it perceives to be an amiable manner. And the calm fish are swimming close to the surface of the pool in interaction with the other pool. But the irritated fish are becoming curious also, and therefore those energies move to be interactive also. Those energies are not concerned with the interaction with the other pool, but they are present. If you are not aware of all of your fish, you shall not be aware of which fish are being expressed to the other individual and which fish they are catching. Your intention may be to offer them the calm fish, but some of the agitated fish are being caught also. The point is to be aware of what you are expressing. Not to discount yourself if some of your agitated fish are being caught by the other individual, but to recognize that in that moment, you incorporate the opportunity to re-net your fish and to contain the agitated fish and express within your intention. In other words, we recast our intention. Pull it back in. It's as simple as saying, oh, you know what? That didn't sound right. I didn't mean it that way. I'm sorry. That was something else that was playing. Let me bring that back in and let me recast that in better accordance to what my intentions were in my interaction with you. Back to Elias. It is also significant to recognize that within your interactions with other individuals, as you are naturally all open to interactions and therefore to reception of other individuals' energies, intrusiveness is not justified. Intrusiveness is an action in which you project energy to another individual intentionally, knowing that it is most likely to be received and configured in a hurtful manner. This is an irresponsible act. This is not an expression of essence. This is not a natural expression of essence. I am understanding that within this time framework, there is tremendous challenge in association with this way of addressing the truths, and that many individuals are experiencing considerable difficulty and confusion. But your difficulty and your conflict may be considerably lessened if you are genuinely paying attention to your own energies and to how you are projecting and being responsible in your projections to other individuals. For I may express to you the reason that intrusiveness is not a natural expression of essence is that within consciousness it is known that any action that you incorporate with other individuals, with other essences, if it is intended to be intrusive or hurtful, what it accomplishes is being much more hurtful to yourself. It may not appear in that manner initially, but I may assure you that you cannot incorporate an action of hurtfulness without being more hurtful to yourself. And in that hurtfulness to yourself, you do deny yourself awareness, and you do deny yourself choice, and you weep. Denial of choice is not a natural expression of essence. Intrusiveness is not a natural expression of essence. Understand that I am not incorporating this information concerning wars or violence, for those actions, even murder, are not necessarily intrusive, for individuals may be merely expressing their preferences, and they engage agreement. Wars are not incorporated without agreement. Violence is not incorporated without agreement. The type of intrusiveness that I am speaking to you of is the type of intrusiveness that devalues, the type that attempts to block choice, the type of irresponsibility that perpetuates trauma, that devalues the expressions regardless of whether you agree. I have expressed many times, you may be accepting and not be in agreement. You may be accepting and cooperating with each other and not agree with each other and not like expressions of each other. But to intentionally express an energy to any other individual of devaluation of their self, to intentionally disregard the value of another individual is intrusive. And you do not necessarily devalue each other in violence, contrary to how it appears. You devalue in expressing it matters not in a distorted context. I have been expressing this term of it matters not from the onset of my interactions with all of you, but I also have expressed the definition that I am not expressing that nothing matters. But in the expression of it matters not, it is the lack of a judgment, the recognition that there is no judgment in association with certain choices or any choices, but not that choices do not matter, merely that they are not judged. But obviously, they do matter. For the choices that you engage set your directions. And if you are incorporating certain choices in certain directions, you may be expressing intrusiveness. Thank you, Elias. Very interesting part of this session has so much to do with our relationships with others and with our loved ones. And we may be experiencing on our end a great deal of intrusiveness being directed at us through the expressions of others. And they may not be aware that they are incorporating intrusiveness in their expression to us. They may not be aware of the agitated fish in their pool that are being caught by us. Or they may. I think what Elias was indicating with the fish analogy is that sometimes it's unintentional. That obviously if we're expressing in congruence with our intention, and our intention is not hurtfulness or intrusiveness, but it is being regarded that way or being accepted that way by another individual in an interaction, that we have an opportunity to reel back in, to bring those fish back in, and get the agitated fish out of our pool, at least in our expression to another individual. But Elias is saying that to purposefully and intentionally express intrusiveness and hurtfulness to another individual is not a true expression of essence. Seth would probably call it a universal I can't think of the word, but I think this transcends consciousness here in physical reality on this planet. It really speaks to consciousness everywhere, in whatever form they communicate, but in particular, within our physical dimension, in which we are not used to, not built to. Number one, we're built to accept all incoming energy. In other words, in an interaction, we don't automatically reconfigure energy as it comes into us. We take it as it comes. Now, we can't be hurt without having a belief, but this is all about being aware of our energy within our interactions. It's all about being responsible with your own energy, knowing yourself enough, well enough, to know what fish are in your pool. We all have agitated fish in our pool. It's our responsibility to be clean and clear in our expression to others, and to make sure that those agitated fish aren't slipping through the nets and making it out to that other individual without our knowledge. Elias is saying, if that's happening, you will be aware of it. It's not going to sneak up on you. Either you're going to feel a twinge within you as you're expressing, or you're going to get it from the reaction of the other individual. But it's very important to be responsible in that sense. This is what I would term personal integrity. And as we're moving forward in this shift, Elias wants, and we all would like, to lessen the trauma of the shift, because we're all learning new ways to play. And non-physical in all its forms will do everything it can to make this a smooth transition for us as we are shifting. And no expression that is other than that should be regarded as genuine. Well, I don't think we're going to get to Seth tonight. I think Elias filled us up. Yahoo! So, I think with that, we had a pretty good discussion around relationships, around how we are interacting with each other, with how we are reflecting to each other, with how we are projecting energy to each other. And we have a really good idea moving forward based on what we talked about here tonight, to have an awareness within ourselves of our own energy. And it's going to become more and more important throughout the shift because there are no secrets. There are literally no secrets within consciousness. And we will be becoming more and more aware of much greater data. So it's going to become very important that we are responsible with our own energy and aware of it. And part of the way that we're doing that is by examining our beliefs and our belief systems and making sure we're clean. And anything that isn't is going to come up for our examination. But I'm really pleased, very, very pleased, as we move forward in the shift, the type of information that is coming out for us and is available for us to consider. Thank you to Elias, thanks to Seth, Bashar, Abraham, many, many others who are expressing very genuine forms of support and aid to the collective and in support of us as we move through the shift. So, it is almost 10:02. I think with that, we're going to call the show tonight. And I think we closed the subject very well. I want to express to you on behalf of myself and Debbie, all of our supporting energies that are in aid to us, and our essences, and your essences, all the teachers and guides. And we're very much in appreciation for your participation tonight in our show. I've enjoyed it immensely. I honestly came in not knowing how I was going to pull it off in that sense. This has just been a weird day, weird week, in a sense. But we do like weird. It's always the challenges are what drive us forward. And actually, this was a very, I think, appropriate topic, very timely. And being that many of our, almost everybody is having a fresh look at their relationships as we move forward in the shift, that it was a very appropriate topic for us, and I hope that was as helpful to you. I know it certainly was for me. I mean, very, very, these awarenesses, these new awarenesses that we're incorporating into our expressions are so very helpful in knowing what we're doing in each moment and being aware of ourselves in each moment, and so helpful. So, with that, on behalf of us here in the Consciousness Evolution Hour and Rob Gauthier's Enlightenment Evolution Network, we would love to see you over on Consciousness Evolution 2.0 Facebook group. Look us up on Facebook. If you're around Southeast Michigan, find us on meetup.com, Consciousness Evolution Meetup Group. And we will be back here next Thursday night at 9 p.m. We'll see what comes up for the next show. How exciting. And genuinely would like to express our love and appreciation for all of you for joining us here tonight, or if you listen by archive. And we will see you next week. Again, thank you from Conscious Evolution Hour, and have a lovely, lovely evening. Good night. Au revoir.